Chosen ones, listen up. This is your moment, your vindication, your undeniable comeback. They thought they could mock you, drag you down, break your spirit. Oh, but guess what? That laughter they threw at you, it's gone. Dead silent. Now they're the ones scrambling, while you rise higher than they ever dared to dream. Let's expose how you humbled your enemies and proved the joke's always been on them. They thought they had you cornered, boxed in by their schemes and silenced under the weight of their arrogance. They smirked as they built traps, certain of your downfall. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't see, was the divine hand working behind the scenes, dismantling their plans in real time. Every lie they whispered, every seed of doubt they planted, every door they slammed in your face, they thought it would break you. Instead, it became the soil where your purpose took root. Their every attempt to harm you was turned into fuel for your rise. God doesn't just watch silently as your enemies conspire. He moves with precision. Their mockery was met with his laughter. Not because the battle wasn't serious, but because their arrogance was pitiful in the face of his power. They didn't realize that when God is for you, their plans don't stand a chance. What they meant for harm became the very thing that propelled you forward. Their betrayals sharpened your discernment. Their rejections redirected you to better opportunities. Their obstacles forced you to grow stronger. Now look at them. The smirks are gone. The confidence in their schemes has evaporated, replaced with a quiet fear they can't even name. They're watching as the very things they tried to use against you have become the evidence of your resilience, your strength, and your divine protection. Their plans backfired spectacularly because they underestimated the one who was always on your side. And now their silence speaks louder than any apology ever could. They see it. You've won, not by stooping to their level, but by letting God turn every setback into a setup for your success. That's the power they couldn't reckon with. And now the joke is undeniably, unshakably on them. They thought they held the upper hand, wielding their schemes with arrogance, convinced their plans would crush you. Yet Psalm chapter 37 declares, "The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming." Their confidence was misplaced, their timing miscalculated, and their schemes short-sighted. What they didn't see was God's divine justice weaving through their every action, flipping their intentions upside down. The traps they set for you became their own pitfalls. Every sneer, every dismissive glance, every word meant to wound. They all ricocheted back on them. God's laughter wasn't mockery, but the ultimate assurance of their defeat. His timing was perfect. Their reckoning was inevitable. Now they stand frozen in disbelief, watching as you rise against all odds, shielded and strengthened by his hand. Their arrogance blinded them, but God saw their day coming, and it has arrived. They thought their strategies were flawless, their plans carefully crafted to ensure your defeat. Every move they made against you was deliberate, calculated to break you. Yet what they failed to understand is that in their overconfidence, they handed you the very tools that would lead to their own downfall. Like the Trojan horse, what they offered as harm carried within it the seeds of their destruction. Their words, sharp as daggers, only exposed their weakness. Their betrayals forced you to step into greater wisdom. Their attempts to isolate you only clarified your strength and purpose. Every setback they orchestrated became a stepping stone, building your resilience, sharpening your focus, and amplifying your success. The harder they pushed against you, the higher you rose, until the weight of their own schemes crushed them. God's justice is perfect, and it's never rushed. While they celebrated their supposed victory, divine timing was at work, positioning you exactly where you needed to be. Their laughter echoed in their own ears, unaware it was the prelude to silence. Every attack they launched ricocheted, every trap they set snapped shut on them, leaving them scrambling to recover from their own arrogance. You cannot be defeated by those who are not aligned with a higher purpose. Their plans backfired, leaving them humiliated, their strategies exposed as folly. The very ground they thought they owned has shifted beneath them, and they can do nothing but watch as you ascend, unshaken and unstoppable. They thought they were delivering your defeat. Instead, they delivered their own. This is the power of divine justice. They sowed harm and reaped their own destruction. They thought they had you, but divine justice had other plans. Now, if this is resonating with you, I want you to comment below. The traps they set became my stepping stones. Let's shout it loud and clear. God's timing is unstoppable. At this time, and only if you feel called to do so, you may subscribe to Obsidian, so you won't miss any future spiritual upgrades from this divine channel. Your enemies, much like the Greeks at Troy, believed they had the upper hand. They crafted their strategies, cloaked in false generosity or cunning deceit, expecting your submission. They didn't realize they were handing you the very tools of their own downfall. Their words, meant to tear you down, revealed truths you used to strengthen your resolve. Their schemes, designed to block your progress, only redirected you to paths that led higher. The Greeks turned a wooden horse, a supposed gift of surrender, into the ultimate weapon of victory. Similarly, what was meant to harm you became the foundation of your triumph. Their arrogance blinded them to the fact that you were learning, adapting, and growing stronger with every move they made. In their attempts to conquer you, they sealed their own defeat. What they intended for your submission, you turned into the very means of your ascension. They laughed, not because your dreams were impossible, but because their small minds couldn't comprehend them. Their mocking was loud, their doubt relentless, and their dismissal of your strength was almost theatrical. They saw your ambition as a threat cloaked in vulnerability and believed their ridicule could shrink you into something they could control. But what they didn't account for was the depth of your resilience and the force of your purpose. Every laugh was fuel, every insult sharpened your focus. Their scorn became the backdrop to your transformation, a noise that faded as you turned their doubts into stepping stones. They thought their mockery would silence you, but it only amplified your voice. While they wasted energy mocking what they didn't understand, you built, you grew, you prepared. The very moment they laughed was the moment you silently committed to proving them wrong. Now the tides have turned. The dreams they mocked have become realities they can't ignore. The strength they doubted radiates in every step you take. Some are watching with quiet admiration, too proud to admit their error. Others are consumed by the bitter regret of underestimating you. Their laughter, once so confident, has been replaced by an uneasy silence. Chosen ones. Their laughter was temporary, but your legacy is eternal. What they mocked, you've turned into something undeniable. Now they must live with the truth that they had a chance to support you and chose to laugh instead. Their scorn was never a reflection of your potential. It was a mirror of their limitations. You've risen, and they are left with the sting of their own disbelief. The joke, in the end, was always on them. Vincent van Gogh's life is a testament to how ridicule often masks fear of what cannot be understood. During his lifetime, his work was dismissed, his vision mocked as eccentric and unworthy. Critics and contemporaries laughed at his bold colors and unorthodox techniques, refusing to see the brilliance in his perspective. He was labeled a failure, rejected by the very world he sought to enrich. But the mockery of his art was never a reflection of its worth. It was a reflection of their inability to grasp its depth. Decades after his death, those same works that were dismissed as absurd became revered as masterpieces, celebrated as some of the greatest art in human history. Like Van Gogh, when they laughed at you, it wasn't because you lacked value, it was because they couldn't comprehend your vision. And one day they may wish they had seen it sooner. And now let us take a brief moment to honor the chosen among us. Here's to the ones who see the world differently. The silent guardians, the watchful souls, always awake, always vigilant. They don't fit the mold, and they wouldn't have it any other way. While others walk familiar paths, they forge their own, fighting unseen battles, illuminating the shadows. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. But if you feel it, deep within, you'll know this is meant for you. No masks, no pretense, just truth. The Obsidian Inner Order is here, a place where kindred spirits gather to share wisdom, to connect, to transform. Over 450 strong, united not by conformity but by purpose. If you're ready, you know where to find us. The link is in the description. If not, that's perfectly fine. Because we're always here, watching over, making a difference in ways unseen. Here's to those who walk their own path, not for recognition, but because it's who they are. Here's to you. Thank you. They underestimated you, dismissed you as irrelevant, and wrote you off before the race even began. They whispered doubts and projected their insecurities onto you, believing their judgment had sealed your fate. What they didn't realize was that their underestimation wasn't a setback, it was your greatest advantage. By disregarding you, they handed you freedom, space to grow without interference, to sharpen your skills while they grew complacent. Every closed door redirected you to better opportunities. Every doubt fueled your determination. While they celebrated prematurely, you were quietly laying the groundwork for something they could never anticipate. They thought they were ahead, but they miscalculated the strength of someone who knows the value of patience and preparation. Then, when the timing was right, you emerged. No more whispers, no more doubts. Your impact was undeniable, and they couldn't stop what they had failed to see coming. Their underestimation didn't weaken you, it amplified your drive and exposed their arrogance. The very ones who dismissed you are now struggling to keep up, questioning how they failed to recognize your power. Chosen ones, their dismissal was never about your worth. It was about their inability to see past their own limitations. Your timing wasn't slow, it was divine. Now that you've arrived, there's no stopping the force of your impact. What they missed out on will forever be their loss, but your rise is the only story that matters. J.K. Simmons's career is a powerful illustration of persistence in the face of obscurity. For decades, he worked tirelessly in supporting roles, his immense talent often overlooked by the spotlight. While others sought quick fame, Simmons quietly honed his craft, building a body of work that showcased his range and depth. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, nor did he demand attention. He simply did the work, laying a foundation that would later make his rise undeniable. It wasn't until his 60s, after decades of dedication, that his breakout moment arrived. His performance in Whiplash earned him an Academy Award, and suddenly he was celebrated as a master of his craft. But his success wasn't sudden. It was the result of years of preparation. Like Simmons, your rise may not be immediate, but when your moment comes, it will prove that persistence and preparation were always the winning strategy. They thought rejection would break you, that closing doors would leave you powerless. They didn't understand that rejection wasn't your downfall. It was the fire that revealed your unshakable core. Every no they gave you, every opportunity denied, was a test of your endurance, not a measure of your worth. While they believed they had sidelined you, all they truly did was strip away distractions, leaving you with the raw determination to rise. You didn't crumble under pressure, you thrived in it. The walls they built to box you out became the boundaries of your battlefield, a place where you refined your strength and sharpened your skills. Their refusal to see your potential didn't diminish it. Instead, it gave you the clarity to see yourself fully, beyond their limited perception. Each setback they orchestrated only pushed you deeper into the reserves of your inner power. The strength they tried to suppress has grown into something unstoppable. Their rejection didn't weaken you, it emboldened you. You've built yourself from the ground up, piece by piece, with a resolve that their acceptance could never have provided. What they dismissed as failure has become the foundation of your victory. I once met a group who faced rejection from their dream company over and over again. Each attempt was met with a polite dismissal or outright silence. Most would have given up, but they didn't. Instead, they took that rejection and used it as fuel, pouring their energy into building something of their own. What began as a small idea grew into a thriving business, a direct competitor to the company that had turned them away. Years later, that same company approached them, not with another rejection, but with an offer for a partnership. Their story is proof that rejection isn't an ending, it's a redirection. When the doors you want don't open, it's often because you're meant to build your own. Your greatest strengths are forged in those moments of denial, and what they withhold from you can lead to opportunities far beyond what you thought possible. They misunderstood you entirely. Your quiet nature, your calm demeanor, your refusal to retaliate. It wasn't weakness, it was restraint, power held in perfect balance. They saw your peace as submission, your silence as defeat, and they grew emboldened in their arrogance. They assumed that because you didn't fight on their terms, you couldn't fight at all. But they were wrong, and their miscalculation will be their undoing. What they didn't see was the storm you were preparing, not through chaos, but through strategy. While they were busy underestimating you, you were building the foundation of something unshakable. Your restraint wasn't born of fear, but of wisdom. The understanding that true strength is not in loud declarations, but in measured action. They mocked your patience, unaware it was the very thing keeping you 2 steps ahead. You were never meek, you were calculating. You allowed their arrogance to blind them, all the while positioning yourself for a victory they didn't see coming. Your peace was a weapon, a shield that deflected their attacks and left them disoriented. Now, if this resonates with your journey, you may comment below. Rejection built my empire. Let's show the world that setbacks are just stepping stones to greatness. If you wish to, you may also help this message to reach others who need to see it by liking this video. The Japanese concept of MR, the power of silence and space, teaches that restraint is not a lack of action, but a deliberate strategy. In martial arts, fighters use Ma to create openings, anticipating their opponent's movements without wasting unnecessary energy. A well-timed pause can disarm an adversary more effectively than an aggressive attack, turning their own momentum against them. You embodied this principle. Your calmness wasn't passivity, it was precision. While they charged forward, assuming your silence was submission, you were observing, preparing, and waiting for the right moment. Their underestimation of your restraint became their undoing, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. What they saw as inaction was actually mastery. Your ability to control your response and conserve your energy made you untouchable. Now they realized their mistake. Your calmness wasn't weakness, it was the strength that left them completely outmatched. They tried to stop you because they saw what you could become. Their sabotage wasn't a sign of your weakness, but their fear. They saw your potential rising, and it terrified them. They placed obstacles in your way, thinking they could halt your progress. They whispered doubts to others, hoping to isolate you. They schemed, convinced that silencing you would preserve their fragile sense of control. But they underestimated one critical truth. The fire inside you burns brightest under pressure. When they blocked your path, you forged a new one. Every barrier they placed before you forced you to grow stronger, to think sharper, to act with precision. Their efforts to silence you only amplified your voice. Like Malala Yousafzai, whose adversaries sought to quiet her courage, the very attacks meant to break her became the foundation of her global impact. Her voice, born of defiance against oppression, became a rallying cry for millions. You too transformed their sabotage into strength. While they spent their energy trying to stop you, you spent yours building. They wasted their focus plotting your downfall, while you refined your skills in the fire of adversity. Their plans didn't destroy you. They revealed the resilience they never anticipated. Each attempt to weaken you became another lesson, another step in your ascent. The very energy they used to block you has rebounded onto them. You stand stronger, your voice clearer, and your presence undeniable. They tried to sabotage you, but instead they sharpened you. Their fear of your rise became the very thing that ensured it. Chosen ones, remember this. What they meant for harm has only solidified your purpose. They aimed to stop you, but in doing so, they became the fuel for your unstoppable ascent. Let them witness the result of their efforts. It is the rise they could never prevent. They see it now, even if they'll never say it aloud. The same ones who doubted you, mocked your efforts, and dismissed your value, now watch in quiet disbelief as you succeed. They never expected you to rise, never believed you had the strength to defy their expectations. But here you are, thriving in ways they can no longer ignore. Their silence speaks louder than any apology ever could. The same voices that once criticized you are now muted, grappling with the reality of your impact. They wanted to convince themselves you were insignificant, that you couldn't succeed without their approval. Yet, with every step you took, you proved them wrong, not through words, but through undeniable results. Your achievements are a reflection of your resilience, a testament to the fire within you that they underestimated. When they hear your name, it stirs something in them, a mixture of regret, envy, and a reluctant acknowledgement of the strength they tried to diminish. They'll never admit it to you, perhaps not even to themselves, but deep down, they know. They know they were wrong about you. They know the barriers they put up only propelled you higher. They know your value is something they can't deny, no matter how much they wish to. In the 19th century, Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis made a groundbreaking discovery. Hand washing could drastically reduce infections and save lives. When he introduced this idea, he was ridiculed by the medical community. His peers dismissed his findings as absurd, refusing to accept the simplicity of his solution. Despite his evidence, their arrogance blinded them, and they rejected his wisdom. Semmelweis died in obscurity, shunned for his revolutionary insight. Yet years later, as germ theory gained acceptance, the world finally recognized the truth he had championed. His once ridiculed practice of hand-washing became a cornerstone of modern medicine, saving countless lives and cementing his legacy. Like Semmelweis, your voice may not be understood at first, but your impact isn't tied to their acknowledgement. Their mockery doesn't diminish your truth. In time, what they once dismissed will be undeniable, and your perseverance will outlast their ignorance. They underestimated you because they mistook your steady pace for weakness. They laughed at your persistence, convinced their flashier, faster approach would leave you behind. But while they were busy celebrating prematurely, you were focused, deliberate, and unwavering. Like the tortoise in the race against the hare, it wasn't about speed, it was about commitment to the finish line. You knew that consistency beats arrogance every time. While they wasted their energy seeking shortcuts and craving attention, you built quietly. You didn't need to announce every move or prove anything to them. Instead, you poured yourself into your purpose, one step at a time. You embraced the grind, showing up every day with relentless focus. Their laughter only fueled you, turning their underestimation into your momentum. Those who once ridiculed your pace are left in the dust, their own arrogance having slowed them down. They thought their head start was enough, but they didn't account for your discipline. They didn't understand that the power of staying focused is unstoppable, and the strength of persistence outlasts any fleeting sprint. They may have laughed at you in the beginning, but they aren't laughing now. They are forced to watch as your steady climb has taken you to heights they couldn't reach. Your success is proof that while they relied on showmanship, you relied on substance. And in the end, substance always wins. They mocked you because they were blind to the vision planted within you. Their laughter wasn't about you. It was a reflection of their inability to comprehend your purpose. They couldn't grasp the magnitude of what was unfolding in your life because it wasn't meant for them to understand. But now, Their laughter has turned to silence, their doubt overshadowed by the undeniable evidence of your victory. Every insult, every dismissal, every moment of rejection, it all built the foundation for where you stand now. The chosen ones have risen. You have proven that resilience outlasts mockery, that purpose outshines arrogance. What they meant for harm, God used to elevate you. Their attempts to derail you only clarified your path. They underestimated your strength, but that's exactly what made your triumph so powerful. The laughter has stopped because the truth can no longer be denied. Chosen ones, let this be your reminder. Your story is far from over. The battles you've won are just the beginning of a greater legacy. Every step you take now carries the weight of your perseverance and the promise of your divine calling. Share this truth with someone who needs to hear it. Let them see that even in the face of mockery and doubt, victory is possible. Your journey has proven that nothing can stop a purpose set in motion by divine hands. Keep going. Your best is still ahead.